So then we saw in the distance, we saw planes circling what I figure is Kai-Tak Airport. And we could see the planes circling and bombs falling off the planes, and we hearing the explosions of the bombs. I saw the first anti-aircraft shell, the British fired, I guess, way below the planes, but it did go off. I said, "Oh my gosh, it's really he's right." He ran home. Terrence ran home to tell his parents, and I went upstairs to tell my dad. And I remember my dad was shaving, preparing to go to work, and listening to his gramophone that he was very proud of, and he was playing the Andrews Sisters' "Yes, My Darling Daughter." I remember the song. Yes, my darling daughter. So I told him where I was. Oh, nonsense. And then the planes were starting at that time to circle Happy Valley also. I said, "Look, there's a Japanese plane." The plane turned and you could see the big red ball there. And I said, "Look," and he said, "Maneuvers." He said, "We're not at war." So he took off the record and tuned into KZPI, the Voice of the Philippines, and that's when he heard. So what do? So we sent the servants out. The servants went out and bought every penny that we had. We bought food because we knew it would be scarce. And I think they bought a case of corned beef from Brazil or Argentina. I think Argentina at the time. And thank God, because that really came in handy. And my father said, "Don't go to school, you just stay at home." So we remained home. Terrence and I went down to the street and played marbles again. Our holes were still there. We still went and played marbles. Terrence's mother and my mother were standing in the street corner talking to each other. Siren was going, the planes were bombing, and ARP wardens telling us, "Everyone, take cover, take cover." We're civilians, they're not going to shoot us. They're looking for military targets. And it was just, we thought that we could keep the Japanese at bay forever. Churchill was saying this war is going to last 6 months, and all that. So that was my father's quote. I don't know how true it is, but he said, "Churchill says the war lasts 6 months. So we'll beat them." So that was our belief. My father went to work, walked to work, no trams. He walked to work 3.5 miles to downtown Victoria. He came home on Monday, and Tuesday he brought with him his boss Fidelis Rosario and his son Armando. Fidelis and Armando, working with my dad, they could not go back. No, they were going to stay with us for the duration of the war. Their house was in Kowloon Town, which is near the territories, and he was sending for his wife and 2 daughters to join us, and they would all stay with us for the duration of the war, because we felt Hong Kong would be impregnable, that the British could defend Hong Kong forever. So at least that's what they believed anyway.
You want to take a drink? You want to take a... So you were on Hong Kong Island when they invaded.
That's right.
They came across Kowloon. There wasn't much resistance, I understand.
Kowloon fell. On Tuesday or Wednesday, Armando and Fidelis were us having dinner. On Thursday, the family was supposed to join us. On Tuesday and Wednesday, Wednesday I think, I looked out the window and looked across at Kowloon, and this eagle eyes, I saw a flag with a red ball hanging,
Oh boy!
flying way out, and I said, I think
Oh.
I think that's, I told my dad, I think that's a Peninsula Hotel, and that's a Japanese flag flying from it. I think Kowloon is gone. And so Armando and Fidelis and my dad came over and looked, you can't see that far, you're imagining things, you can't see that distance. You know, it was miles away. But so he took his binoculars and he said, yes, it's a Japanese flag. So there was a Wednesday. So from what I read in the other papers, that Kowloon fell in a week or something like that. But really, to all intents, 3 days. Talking to Vichy Souza, his father was. He said that his father caught the last ferry from Kowloon into Hong Kong, and the Japanese were shooting at the ferry as it left. And a lady beside him got hurt, and he was there. So Vichy's father, that's Vichy's father, who also worked for Cable Wireless. But needless to say, Fidelis' family never joined us. So
you were on Hong Kong for how long before you were evacuated?
Not long, because not long after that, Hong Kong surrendered on December 25th. The Japanese tried to invade Hong Kong through downtown or something, and were beaten back, from what we understand. And then they landed in North Point, on the other side of the island, and started working over Causeway Bay into Happy Valley, and to the valley, and I think Stanley Fort was in that vicinity. And because Stanley Fort was on the hills, because the Japanese was, when they were in Kowloon trying to land in Hong Kong, they were shelling, and every night we would sleep on the stairs. You know, all these apartments are built; they're solid, they're built of cement, and they built to withstand the typhoons. And so my parents all thought that the staircase of the 4 stories would be ideal for a bomb shelter. And thank God, I don't think the Japanese had very big cannons at the time, so they were not penetrating, and so we were safe there. All the grown-ups were praying, saying the rosary, and the kids were all sleeping. And I say grown-ups because we had Fidelis and Armando. We lived on the top floor. On the floor directly below us was Mano and Aldo Rodriguez, and the 2 sons and a daughter. And they asked us to move down with them because it'd be safer away from the top story.
Okay.
So we were all down on the.
So your family of 7 moved down to the bottom, the next
floor, together with Fidelis and Emma. And then Terence Pomeroy's family, his father was in the police, had force, and had to report for duties, some government intelligence or something like that. So his father was gone and couldn't come home because he was defending the colony. And Terence and his mother and his 2 brothers and 3 sisters all came over too. They all brought their food over with them and everything, so we had a supply of food. And we bought whatever we could, put all our money together, whatever we could. And Alda Rodriguez was working for Lane Crawford, which is one of the food stores there. And she, her last day of work there too, bought as much as she could to bring back. So that we were lucky. As I said, we never really wanted food. But it wasn't too long when Hong Kong surrendered on Christmas Day. By then the power, once it took North Point, the power went off because that's where the electrical station was.
I see.
And all the frozen foods that we had in the freezer had to be eaten. It wasn't much, but we decided that we would have a big Christmas dinner that night for all so it was quite. We decided that if we banded together and lived together, you had more protection than because it's not only the Japanese or whatnot that you worry about, it's the looters that come around and trying to take advantage of